Well, let's look at some of those other metals and, well, energy prices for you in the round. And there's crude overnight, fairly mixed picture there. Of course, the situation in Libya continuing to exercise plenty of attention. Hurricane Irene as well, marching towards the US East Coast, strengthening into a Category 3. NYMEX light sweet off 23 cents at one point. London Brent ticking up by about 84 cents a barrel, but not a huge amount to write home about on either side of that divide. Gold, though, was the key talking point just on that corrective front, losing 104 an ounce. That was over 5% of its value in the session there, as the US dollar did nudge higher against the euro in a basket of currencies. So let's talk that plunge in the gold price, biggest since March 2008. Speculation that financial markets may be stabilising. Well, you could take that as one particular view. Bullion, though, tumbling over 7% inside the last two sessions. That wipes out its gains inside the last fortnight, which did drive the precious metal up as much as 16% since August the 5th. Well, what's going on? Jonathan Barrett from Commodity Broking Services in Sydney. Jonathan, welcome to the show. I'm a bit reluctant to use the expression a bubble because not everyone's been buying this thing. It does seem like it, but are we getting ahead of ourselves?
Look, Carson, it's quite a volatile move, and yes, I think everyone basically said, look, that it had moved too far too fast. Very hard to try and pick when it actually occurs, but what we are seeing is that yes, the week longs are scrambling from the market. Those that are sure-footed about the position in the future, I think, are seeing this as a period or an opportunity to buy. Now, I think the interesting thing here on such a move higher, you've got to expect now the market to continue to consolidate for some time. So you might get an initial knee-jerk reaction higher, but at the end of the day, I think you might see prices continue to be steady, if not lower, but that's only an opportunity.
Was it an opportunity fundamentally, though, to book profits? Because it wasn't as if risk was suddenly back on the table. You look at the underperformance of our dollar as kind of giving the lie to risk being in vogue overnight.
Yeah, that's a hard thing when you've got a market that moves so far and so fast. You don't know where it's going to stop. You know, you can only try to win. And when markets like this move, you can't look at your technical indicators to see when it's the right time to buy. The fundamental news is already in the market. You know, it just keeps on, you know, feeding off itself the whole time. You know, there are still concerns out there. They just haven't gone in the last 2 days. So they're still going to be there. So if anything there, it's just an adjustment. Markets go through it. They take time to readjust, and then we get back to fundamentals.
All right, well, fundamentally, the shift seemed to be back into commodity, to equities at least, ahead of course, a decision due Friday. Some economic news which could justify one that suspects going into that space and searching for yield. What do you make of the shift, and is it sustainable?
Look, this is the tough question. What's Bernanke going to do? QE3. Didn't work. QE1, QE2 haven't worked. It has provided a cushion for the financial markets, but is he going to come out with a QE3? I tend to think the market is incorrect by pricing another QE3. I actually feel he'll come up with some other form of stimulus, but it's not going to be like the same program. So if anything, I feel that it's more a buy the rumour, sell the fact. But Bernanke's actually caught because he can't actually come out and say nothing. He has to say something because the market wants to see the stimulus now. And that, of course, we've seen equity move higher, people out of gold into equities. It's a play. The key, I think, will be on Friday as to see what he actually has to say to see whether or not this equity rally is actually sustained.
Point being, it's a lot easier, arguably, to, control deflation or inflation? Because it looks like he thwarted the former. The latter, the jury's still out, although the Fed would seemingly say any signs of toppiness in inflation, well, they will moderate over time. We're not looking at a runaway situation. No,
I don't think we are. In fact, I think we want to see a little bit of inflation, to tell you the truth. You know, we want to see an excuse to put interest rates back to normal levels. We don't have it. It is easier to control a market that's running with inflation. A lot easier than a deflationary market. Deflationary market, you've really got to try and stimulate the people who spend. In an inflationary market, you just control it. So I think that he would welcome some form of inflation, because that in itself means that people are paying up for prices, and that means that we're not stagnant, we're actually moving. So in my mind, I think that would be more of an outcome that he would look for over the next week or two, or a month, couple of months.
Okay, let's talk the crude price meanwhile, Jono, because we've got hurricane season upon us. The moves were not significant as such overnight, but is this kind of calm before the storm price action?
Yeah, I think calm before the storm, you're dead right. Let's see what happens with the hurricane. There's no doubt about that. I guess obviously if it steers towards the Gulf, we've got some issues there in terms of tightness in supply that could develop. Let's see how the storm actually unfolds. In my mind now, it really is, I think, a little bit to do with how fast Libya can get the supply of the light sweet to the market, okay? Because what is keeping the market up is that light sweet, because we do have those developments in Nigeria as well, who also produces light sweet. So I think if anything, those particular events are actually holding that market high, which is causing the heavier crudes, particularly the Brent, to continue to trade higher.
Jono, so turbulent, as you know, with all that geopolitics now very much front and centre, and really the net closing in on the Gaddafi regime. So really whether they can step up and get that output back on track will be an interesting one in days, if not weeks to come. Thank you for now.
No problem.
Appreciate it. Jonathan Barrett from Commodity Broking Services.